What's going on, sports bettors? Matt Modi here with OddsJam, here to give you some early bets to lock in for the NFL Divisional Round. So I'm recording this on Monday morning, so we still have one game to go in the wild card round. Excuse me. Three games in the divisional slate are confirmed, just waiting on one. So I'm going to have plays on two of the three games that are currently that are confirmed with odds out there. I love betting on plays early because you can find some insane pricing discrepancies between the sports books. Now, that obviously doesn't exist only early in the week. It exists early and then as the week leads up to the game itself. And that doesn't mean that every single one of these bets is going to hit, nor is going to beat the closing line. But if you can beat the closing line, sometimes you can do it in a very, very dramatic fashion and aggressively beat the closing line. So it will be profitable in the long run, assuming you are making sure you're placing profitable bets. I just not going to say I'm going to hit every single one is all. But the first play I found using OddsJam, using the positive expected value page. So the play is Jaguars plus 6.5, plus 134 odds against obviously the Chiefs. This is the first game on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern, 2:30 my time, Mountain Time. I locked this one in. I put 3/4 of a unit on this one, which is $75 for me. So for those of you at home, unit sizing this one, scale down a little bit, 3/4 of a unit. But let's chat about it. So I mentioned it's positive expected value. What does that mean? It means we are getting an edge over the sportsbook that we're placing the bet with, in this case, FanDuel. The definition of positive expected value is when you're placing a bet that you know as the sports bettor has a higher chance of hitting than the reflected odds of the sportsbook that is offering the bet. Now, I know that sounds like a mouthful, so let's break that down. Number one, we're placing bets that we know as the sports bettor have better odds than the odds reflected in the sportsbook. So that first part, we know that we have better odds. How do we know that? It's from these no vig odds you see in this column here. So looking at the screenshot, right? This is where every single sportsbook prices Jags plus 6.5. We see odds range from plus 134 down to looks like plus 112. 22-cent gap on a pretty big market, an alternate line on the Jags spread. With gaps that large between sportsbooks, one of them has to be right, one of them has to be wrong. Both of them being that far apart cannot accurately represent what this market should be priced at, right? It just doesn't make any sense at all. So with that thought in mind, that one of these sportsbooks is right, one of them is wrong, there are some sportsbooks that are consistently better than others at pricing odds, the sportsbooks that we consider sharp, right? So what OddsJam did, and I'm getting back to this definition now, was test thousands and thousands of historical betting opportunities over a long period of time to determine what sportsbooks are consistently the sharpest, right? So OddsJam tested all this data, said, okay, and I'm not saying this is a number, but let's pretend there are 5 sportsbooks that are consistently better than every other sportsbook. OddsJam takes odds from those 5 sportsbooks, uses a weighted average, giving heavier weight towards the sharper books, and then uses those sportsbooks to essentially set the line on markets moving forward, current betting opportunities. So that's how we know that the Jags plus 6.5 is going to hit at a higher rate than the sportsbook, the reflected odds of FanDuel Sportsbook. We know as the sports bettor that this should actually be priced closer to plus 133 basically plus 133.5, right? We know that as the sports bettor, thanks to OddsJam collecting all this data. Well, FanDuel is giving this to us at plus 134. So we know that this bet is going to hit at the odds reflective of plus 133, but FanDuel is giving it to us at plus 134. So that's kind of the definition of positive expected value betting and how everything makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, reach out to me. You can see me, my handle on Twitter at Jedi Modi. You can also email us, contact@oddsjam.com to help you out as well. But that's kind of the profitability and the edge of how this all makes sense. Next thing you want to do before placing a bet is you want to compare the odds of the bet you're placing to the odds of every other sportsbook and where they price it at, which I kind of did at the beginning, right? FanDuel's giving this to us at plus 134. The closest book is PointsBet, 9 cents lower at plus 125, as is BetMGM. And then Pinnacle which is the sharpest sports book in the world, given the heaviest weight towards these no vig odds, prices this at plus 123. Then every other book, plus 122, plus 120, plus 117, plus 112. The closest book is 9 cents lower than what FanDuel is giving it to us. Basically, every other sports book is making us pay more money for the Jags plus 6.5, except for FanDuel. That probably means FanDuel has this mispriced. We can buy the Jags plus 6.5 for a cheaper rate than what every other sportsbook is offering. So those sportsbooks probably just have this mispriced. So play number 1 for this video, Jags plus 6.5, plus 134 odds at FanDuel. Play number 2, I found from using the OddsJam screen and line shopping. And we are actually locking in Eagles -7, minus 110 odds at Ballybet. Now I locked this one in. Ballybet let me get a whopping 11 cents on this bet, so very, very thankful for them. For those of you that do have Ballybet, and they're legal in a decent amount of states, I recommend putting a full unit on this play. So for me, that'd be $100, not 11 cents, but is what it is. But the reason why I like this play so much, aside from the fact that I have an Eagles flag over my shoulder, look at Ballybet's pricing compared to every other book in 2 different ways. Number 1, let's look at -7. Ballybet offers that at minus 110. BetOnline, another very sharp sports book. So I mentioned Pinnacle. BetOnline is another book that is very sharp. Prices this at minus 122. Pinnacle prices it at minus 118. But what you want to do in order to get an accurate representation of what these sharp sports books price and market at, you want to remove the VIG. Luckily, OddsJam does that right for you. You just click this little button here, show no VIG odds. So the no VIG line for both BetOnline and Pinnacle is minus 111. So more favorable than the minus 110 that Ballybet is offering. So this is a profitable bet. And look at every other book and where they price this play. Ballybet at minus 110, minus 118, minus 128, minus 118. Pretty much minus 120s across the board with FanDuel at minus 115. Now look at where every book is pricing the main line for this bet, minus 7.5. That half point is massive when you are backing a favorite, right? Eagles win by exactly a touchdown. Not the craziest scenario in the world. The Giants just won by exactly a touchdown. You push this minus 7 bet, you lose every single other bet that you placed at minus 7.5. So the majority of sportsbooks think that the Eagles should be 7.5 point favorites. We're only getting them at minus 7 for a mainline price at minus 110 odds at Ballybet. So that's a really, really good price on the Eagles minus 7, right? Like we see 1, 2, XBet, PlayUp, BetRivers, WinBet, DraftKings, Bet365, Caesars, PointsBet, Betfred, and BetMGM. All of those sportsbooks have this at minus 7.5. No sportsbook has it at minus 7. Clear value on the Eagles minus 7, so I hit it. So those are going to be the 2 early bets for this video. Of course, odds are always going to be changing, so make sure to subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel to get all of our picks for the playoffs moving forward, as well as some NBA DFS stuff as well. But for this video, that's all I got. So I appreciate everybody watching, and have a good one.